So the other day I made a down and dirty video on Facebook about how wrist locks are a poor solution against being lapel grabbed, or just don't work against being lapel grabbed. And I made that video in response to loads of other videos I'd seen from karate experts and martial artists and indeed actual self-defense experts saying, well, you mean you want to do this wrist lock from here as a defense, and completely ignoring the fact that most people are going to hockey punch you as you're trying to apply this wrist lock. Not to mention there's loads of other variable factors which I'm going to talk about later with wrist locking. So in response to my video from here, there were loads of people, well, everyone agreed in the context you can't from the get-go apply a wrist lock. And the general consensus was that you need to soften up your opponent before you apply a wrist lock, otherwise you've got absolutely no chance. And I 100% agree. From here, if you want to execute a wrist lock, you need to soften your opponent up, distract them, make sure their arm straightens, etc., etc. However, from here, just because that can work doesn't mean you should necessarily do it. From here, what I did in my video, I didn't even address that issue of softening up your opponent before you apply a wrist lock, because I simply taught a simpler, more reliable solution from here. So I didn't even bother to worry about trying to, this is what you do if you really want to shoehorn wrist locks into your defense. From here, you've got to do this first. Just teach the simpler, more reliable solution. So what I really want to talk about is and what the big point of this video really is don't take my word for stuff. You want to pressure test things for yourself. So don't take my word for what I'm saying here. Don't take other people's words or other instructors' words. You want to pressure test things for yourself. Not with compliant partners where it's completely choreographed, but like in this video where it's much more realistic, much more visceral, and much more like what you're going to encounter in real life self-defense. And if your self-defenses can stand up to that test, then that is great. But if they don't, from here you have to have a real strong reassess of the self-defense that you're teaching, or indeed learning. So right now let's go through a side-by-side comparison in a lot more detail than I went through in my first video. So my first line of defense is to hold up a fence, from here, whether it's my amber alert talking fence, or whether it's my red alert from here, full on hands out, keep your distance fence. From here, it doesn't matter. What I'm doing is I'm denying the chest as an easy target for him to grab. So that's my first line of defense. Second line of defense is from here, if he goes to grab, from here I'm going to try and deflect from here and also step off line. From here, and if I can block a punch, I can block a push. From here, when I see his hand come up and he's going to grab, I'm just going to block from here. And even if he does get his hand on me, from here, can certainly weaken his grip, and I can easily push that off. Even if I don't block, from here, and he grabs me, from here, if he's not got the strongest of grips, from here, I can even just use my shoulder, from here, and I'm out of that grip there. From here, the other thing about this tactic is from here, of course, if he grabs me, from here, and he doesn't grab me, from here is now that I'm in this strong sideward stance, whether I'm doing a Shotokan style Kibadachi or from here a Goju Shigodachi, doesn't really matter. From here, if he pushes or pulls me, from here, I am really got a relatively strong platform, and now I can mount a strong defense from here from this position. By the way, you'll see this is in kata seppai from here, this stance. Not in the same context as what we're practicing here, but nevertheless, this round elbow from here and the hands here in reality would be here, does appear in kata. So I would deflect and then bring my elbow up. I'm going to bring my elbow up at the end from here because I want to clear away his potential threats from here. So once he grabs me from here, I want to make sure I'm stopping him from headbutting me. I've got this hand here in case he punches me. From here, I can, if it's relatively straight, from here I'm going to push it across here. From here, and then I can bridge from here as well. But usually from here it'll be a more outwards type blow from here, and I'm going to block out from here in this Heiwanuki type pushing block here. From here, and also to this side on an angle from here, he can't knee me in the groin either, which might be another option for him. The other great thing about this defense is from here is sometimes he might not be grabbing me, he might just be pushing me. And it might not even be with two hands, it might be with one hand, it might be two hands, because you can't tell, by the way, if someone's going to shove you with one hand, whether that's a grab or a push from here. So if it's push from here, it's easy from here. And then now, obviously, whether it's a grab or a push, it doesn't matter. If he misses from here, I've now got a whole bunch of different counter-attacks from here that I can very, very quickly execute on him while he's overextended from here. It's just boom, and then from here, straight back into whatever I want to do really from here. But at the very, very least, from here, if he goes up into here, from here I can just create some distance and go, hey, 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 and I can renegotiate if I think that renegotiating is appropriate from here, or I can even exit if I think it's appropriate, but I'm far away from that power hand. So if he has grabbed me, so he's grabbed me from here, I've gone back like this, I've tried to block from here, but I very, very quickly bring my elbow up so he can't headbutt me. From here, always my priority at this instant is from here is not to attack him or to try and restrain him or whatever. It is to stop him from hitting me and hurting me at this point in time. And it's pretty obvious how that's going to happen. He can't headbutt me, he can't knee me from here and use it, and from here they're rarer anyway. It's going to be the punch. So the top priority from here has got to be to stop him hurting me more than anything else. I don't want to restrain him from here and all of that kind of stuff while he's still got this hand free to hurt me from here. So obviously, from here as he strikes, from here I'm going to block, from here, and then now from here once I've blocked, I'm going to from here strike here. From here, sometimes I can step through with that, pushing off balance, depends on what my personal preference is. But basically, as he goes from here, he grabs, I go back. From here, I'm blocking from here, and then now from here, I'm controlling this arm. At this point in time, from here, he can't hit me with his right. He's holding on to me with his left. If he lets go with his left and tries to hit me, he can't really hit me because I've got this bar across here. By the way, this is Shotokan's Shuto Uke. I know in Shotokan's here, but I prefer here. From here, but here, and then from here, from this position, I can do a whole swathe of different things, as I demonstrated in my previous video. From here, I can knee. From here, I can do all sorts of different things. I can come in from here, take a leg, push him over. There's a load of nagi from here. I can throw from here. I can there's a whole bunch of different throws, I can hammer fist this out here. From here I can switch, kick him in the groin from here. There's a million different things, and the great thing about this position is I'm in control of him. I've got control of his posture. I've got control of his limbs. He's a severely diminished threat, and if I start attacking from here him, then that threat is going to be increasingly diminished, and I'll be in complete control of the situation. And it's as simple as deflect, block, clinch, push. From here, all of them, as I mentioned before in my previous video, are gross motor skills. Now, you may think, well, what if you fail to clinch? So if he grabs me, and from here I bring my hand up, etc. From here, drop back so he can't push me around. And if he goes to punch, and from here now I fail to clinch. From here something goes wrong here. From here, what do I do now? From here, it's because he's going to draw the hand back really quickly, and he's going to go again. So I can from here simply go again. From here, or if I'm quick, from here something goes wrong. From here, and now I can just burst forwards from here and do the spear. From here, so boom, something goes wrong from here, spear, and again, once again from here, I'm into that position. I'll always feel with this spear, my head is protected from here, and I'll always find this arm, it's always at the end of his shoulder. It's never anywhere else from here. So once I'm here, from here I'm just going forwards, I'm just pushing forwards into my opponent from here, and then once again, all the other usual stuff. So broad skill sets from here and reliable techniques. So I hope all that makes sense. And by the way, this bursting motion where you're simultaneously blocking and striking their face and pushing their head away from you, which prevents them from throwing their other hand, is a staple in my classes. I teach if someone throws a big haymaker and a load of other situations. So it is something my students are very, very familiar with. Also, to this stepping back off the line and deflecting is something that I teach regularly against single lapel grabs, double lapel grabs, pushes and shoves. So it's not like my students have to make choices from here when something comes at them from here. If there's a shoving motion from here or a grabbing motion, they've always got the same response. If someone's throwing a punch, they've always got the same response. So, or swinging punch, they've always got the same response. So this cuts down their decision making, and obviously that heavily increases the reliability and the reaction time they have. Now, when we're dealing with this wrist lock, there are several we're thinking about the wrist lock. There are several problems with wrist locks intrinsically in this situation from here and in general. First of all, from here, well, there's two big problems. First of all, in this situation, you are being yanked around, being pushed and pulled from here, and also you're being hit really, really hard as you're trying to execute this. And the second problem is that the wrist lock is intrinsically quite hard to pull off from here in the pressure of a self-defense situation. For example, if you just grip a little bit too low on their wrists, from here, you're not going to have the leverage to turn their hand around. If you can't get your fingers underneath the meaty part of their hand, from here, then guess what? But just because they're pressing up against your clothes or whatever from here, or just because they've just twisted their hand a little bit, you won't be able to get the leverage to turn their hand over. And equally too, of course, from here, their arm has got to be relatively straight. If it's bent from here, it's not going to work. And also too, if they can manage to resist, it's not going to work. So that's a lot of ifs and buts. And as I said before, you've got to have, there's a lot of ifs and buts come with the extra pressure of them punching you and shoving you around at the same time. So as we watch the rest of this, and we're going to do this side-by-side comparison of how these wrist locks actually fare from here, and whether you can do some compliance techniques to make them work. From here, I want you to think about self-defense in context, not just in the bubble of compliant partners where someone grabs you and from here they just leave their hand out and you've got plenty of time to get your wrist lock on and do all those kinds of things. I want you to think about whether your self-defense will work in that realistic scenario, how it would be in real life. So it doesn't matter whether it's this situation or other solutions or other situations, I want you to think about realism. So now we're going to address the turning wrist lock as a defense. In my previous video, as I proved from here, from the very get-go, from here, go for a wrist lock here. From here, he's going to resist, and from here, more importantly, he's going to hit me. And from here, that's a really, really bad idea, especially if my elbow's already dropped in trying to get this. It hasn't dropped enough, I haven't twisted enough to stop him from punching. And from here, this is an absolute disaster. I have to get all the way to here before I can stop him from punching. But even then, you could probably, from here, fight back a little bit from here. Actually, you can still punch me. So I need to get right on before I can stop him from punching me. But as I've said, from here, that isn't going to happen from here. There's just too many things going on. So the consensus was, and the feedback from here that I received from here was that you need to soften people up before you do that. This is not news to me. I already know that from here. However, from here, softening people up isn't as easy as it sounds. So what I'm looking at is doing some compliance techniques, and from here and let's look at the different options I have with following a compliance technique, and from here distracting him before I execute my wrist lock. So from here, as he goes to grab me, from here, he's going to shove me initially. From here, so if I'm not back like this, from here that's going to be a problem. From here, and also too, as he's grabbing me, he's going to be pulling me in to his punch, yep? From here to maximise his power. So if I choose now from here to kick, from here as he's pulling me, from here, now I'm potentially off balance. If I do it at the moment, if I lift my leg, at the moment he goes to grab me and he's shoving me in, from here I go to grab. From here, being on one leg, from here as he's vigorously hitting me and yanking me around, from here it's a bit of a recipe for not disaster, but it makes my job a lot harder in getting an accurate, powerful kick because he's in control of my balance. So from here, let's give it a bit of a go though. Ready? He goes. From here, boom. From here, I get hit straight away for a start because I'm thinking about my leg, not about the block. From here, but let's go again. From here, I'm not having much luck with that. From here, let me try my front leg. I'm definitely not going to be able to pull off a front kick from here to his body. From here, I'm going to have to go for a back leg to his groin. From here, again. And I don't like my chances of getting off a strong kick. It's just, you mean he's got hold of me, it's just too visceral for me at this point in time. From here, I can't get it off. So my other option is to throw a punch. And from here, with this, first of all, from here, if I stay straight here, from here, who can see a problem? I have not got the reach, yep? From here, but even if I twist to here, now I increase my reach from here to here, which is significantly better. But because Rich is a little bit taller than me, is this a very, very deep punch? The answer is no. From here, it's not a deep punch. And in reality, I'm not going to do quite enough damage. If I go to palm strike, I'm not even going to reach. Maybe if I finger strike from here, that will maybe do the job. If I want to, so if I'm punching here, because he's just pushed me, his arm's going to be an extension, I might struggle to get a strong blow here because I'm an overextension from here, and he's still going to hit me from here, which is really bad. So I need to wait until he bends his arm and he's pulling me in from here, and now I can easily hit him, which is great news, except for the fact that as he pulls, he's pulling to hit. So this is his motion. One hand pulls in, one hand comes out, and this is bad news because from here now, as he's pulling me in, if I've got to hit him from here, he's simultaneously hitting me, and we're talking about making my strike. I've got to fit my strike in a very, very small window of opportunity. If I'm trying to, as he's pulling me in, and I've got to push him, and this is simultaneously what's going to stop him from hitting me, and it's simultaneously going to soften him up for this. From here, I've got a very, very, very small, minute window of opportunity to pull that off. From here, I'm probably in the vicinity of like a 20th or a 5th of a second. From here, possibly even thinner. From here, my timing would need to be unbelievably exact for that. From here, so not a particularly reliable defense. Now you can say, well, when you're grabbing me like this, from here, it's okay that he's hitting me because I can shield up like this from here, which is great. From here, I can shield up like this from here, and this is actually, I don't favour this block because I don't like having my ribs completely exposed. And when I'm like this, I can't see what his hand's doing. From here, I'm just covering my head, and if he's hitting me, from here, I'm just absorbing it, and from here, I can come back and hit him, and that's all good. From here, that's great. Except, wouldn't it be better if, rather than from here just covering and getting hit multiple times by him, wouldn't it be better if I just had my hands here, and I just blocked and captured, yeah? If I just block and capture from here, then I don't have to take multiple hits. And by the way, if I'm taking multiple hits while I'm trying to get my punch off from here, are my chances diminishing every time I have a go at trying to hit him? From here, is he wising up? Is he extending his arm now? From here, only to make sure he might not. He might be stupid and just take the punches to the head from here as I'm going, but he might wise up. If I've got my hands here as well and he punches my arm, he might wise up and just hit me in the rib from here. And now I can't defend my rib at all. From here, my hand's in the wrong spot. From here, so it probably is wiser or more well-rounded or more holistic from here to have my hand here. So when he goes to punch, from here I can block out. And now I can capture here, and now I don't have to deal with a multitude of punches, I only need to deal with one. But wait a second, isn't this the original solution, my original solution, which I just taught from here a second ago? This is exactly what I was teaching before from here. And you've got to think about the goal of the wrist lock. The goal of the wrist lock is to restrain your opponent from here, and potentially from here in this position, from here, he can't hit me. But if he attacks me and I block here, from here, now this is restraining my opponent. Okay, it's not a painful wrist lock, but he can't hit me. From here, do I have loads of options from here? Of course, we've already discussed that. From here, there's absolutely loads of options. So this skill of from here, if Richard goes fast, from here, over here, and I go to here, from here, sorry, I hit Richard in the face then, from here, but if I go to here, this is much, much more reliable than from here, if he goes fast, from here. This business, from here, is a lot more hairy of an affair. From here, he gets to hit me multiple times. He gets to shove me around and push me off balance and all that kind of stuff. Whereas here, from here, I get to control the situation a lot earlier. And I also had a comment from someone saying, why wait till you get hit? And in this situation, you're not waiting to be hit. You're setting them up for a counter strike from here, or a trap in this instance, counter strike here really from here, but you're setting them up for a trap. So this is very sound tactically. It's a staple of self-defense and of sport fighting for that matter. And obviously I've got a highly reliable block and a highly reliable trap that I'm setting them up for. But better yet, from here, by just hanging around waiting from here for their technique, I'm concentrating on that one hand because I've eliminated their headbutt, I've eliminated the other options. I know they're going to hit me with that hand, so I can sit there and wait and think about making sure this block and this trap really work, as opposed to other, the example I just gave of like, I want to from here protect here and simultaneously defend and hit at the same time. There's a lot going on, and as discussed, there's massive timing and range issues and reliability issues because you're doing too many things at once. One thing at a time, if you can. Okay, so I hope you see that this video is not just about lapel grabs. I think I said this earlier in the video, but it is about that mindset of testing your self-defense in realistic scenarios, not just the bubble of choreographed partners and choreographed drills and compliant partners, but making sure your self-defense really does work in self-defense. Now, equally, just as much as we owe the old masters a debt of gratitude and they deserve our respect as the pioneers of karate, and also too, they were on the right track in teaching karate as not just a percussive art, but also a grappling art. They were definitely on the right track in teaching karate as a holistic mixed martial art, as it were, but for self-defense purposes. As much as they were on the right track, they didn't have as much martial knowledge as we do today, as is what's available today. For me, in fact, their martial knowledge was relatively limited. So in that respect, just because something appears or a self-defense solution appears in a kata from here, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the optimum solution for that problem. It may well have been superseded by a more modern solution or a solution from a different art from here, which is far more effective and far more reliable. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't learn the applications of kata, or if we know that an application has been superseded, that we should just ignore it, because it probably is going to teach us some valuable self-defense principles which can be applied in other areas. And as Ian Abernathy, and I believe it was Gichin Funakoshi, said, kata applications are textbook to the student. They are examples, and sometimes and obviously they are teaching the principles as examples from here. We don't necessarily need to take them all 100% literally from here. We just need to learn from here the tactics and the thought processes and the body movement, etc., that comes behind those techniques, even if they have been superseded. So, as always, train hard, train smart, think common sense.